hither attended my way, when sorrows exceeded roll. Whatever, my Lord, you have taught me to say, it is well with my soul. So if you know it, sing along. It is well with my soul. 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 Not to believe. Through it all, my eyes are on you. Through it all, it is well. Through it all, my eyes are on you. It is well. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. The waves and wind still know His name. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul.
You know, Mom would wake up and be a little disoriented over the last month or so. And she'd wake up and she'd go, wow. And I'd wait. And she'd go, wow. I said, well, Mom, you know, wow upside down is Mom. And I'd get a smile out of her. So, wow. Okay. This is going to be a little bit fun, I think. We're going to have people share. And there's been a lot of prayer over this meeting already, but we'll just be official. Lord, please touch our hearts with the wonderful memory of my mom, and grant grace to this room for the ears, for the words, for the hearts to be blessed by your grace. Amen.
Amen.
I think the theme of this meeting is going to be testify, share, And we have a specific order of people who are going to share, and then as time allows, we're going to let other people, anybody who wants to say something about Aunt Chris or Grandma, come up and say something. And we're going to begin with my Aunt Susan. I'm crying because I love you.
Okay, I'm up here first because I'm the oldest. And I had the privilege of spending my life with my sister, which was wonderful. She was always busy taking care of me because she was the perfect child. That she came and she did everything my parents told her to do, and I came into the world and I did exactly opposite. And so she was always going, Sue, 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 and I was like, but come, look, it's so exciting. But anyway, she was always helping me. And then as we grew, we became best friends, and she knew that I needed a trade, and so she taught me the flower industry. And she was always busy looking out for me until the very end. I mean, because she always wanted me to just sit and be quiet with her, and I never could be quiet. And so she would say, when we get old, we'll just sit on a couch and we'll just be quiet. And I would say, okay, but so when I came to see her in those last days, I was ready to be quiet. You know, I was just gonna sit there and just be quiet with her. And she said, let's paint. I'll teach you how to make booties. And I'm like going, okay, I don't know how to knit. So Lori helped get me started, and then I commenced to trying to do this knitting, and John saw how bad I was knitting, and he said, I don't think that you don't knit that way. And I said, but no, I have to go under here and over here. And so I said, Chris, I can't do it. Well, you know, Lori was gone, and it was like, she looked at it and she went, I can fix it. So there she was. She took it apart and she said, I don't really even know what you did. She said, I think you created a new stitch. And I don't think I can fix it. And I said, it's okay. I'm a potter. I'm not a knitter. So we tied it all off, and I have it as a memory of my booty. That's all it is. But I don't know, I spent a wonderful life with her, and she was, she didn't have a lot of possessions. She never wanted possessions. I mean, I'm a hoarder. She's not a hoarder. She was always be like, if you gave her something like, oh, I don't need that, I'll give it to somebody. She was just selfless. She just gave to people, and she loved all of you. And I'm sure that everyone in this room is knitted into a fabric of her life because she loved everybody. And when she looked at somebody, she looked and she saw the very best in them. And she brought out the very best in the people that she loved. And she was my sister, and I was blessed to have had her for the time that I did. And one day, like, I put her rose on the casket and said, till I see you again, because I will see her again. So, anyway, at noon every day I say the Lord's Prayer. And at noon we buried her, and I didn't get to say it, so I was hoping that we could all say the Lord's Prayer together. And that would be, it would fill the room with wonder. So I'll start. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thy is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Love you all.
Love you too.
Thank you. Thank you. For the last 25 years, I need to speak up. Okay.
Yeah, louder.
A number of years ago, my mother met a man that she fell in love with. And she spent the last 25 years with Philip Baldley. And when I asked Mom about her experience, she loved him. She had fun with Phil. They had art, so many wonderful experiences. She talked about going places. And she really, really loved you, Phil. And Phil is kind of dropping it on him now, but Phil, would you come up and speak to this group?
After my experience of the last time, I tried to do this without notes. I just made notes last night. It's hard to write a story from the ending. I met Christine when I visited Michigan to go camping with my old friend Greg Stevens, Christine's son. Greg had gotten his mom, Chris, to not only pick me up from the airport, but to put me up in her room in her home on this trip and the 2 trips that followed, where I came up to do some more work with Greg on his contracting jobs. While not working, I spent almost all of my free time with Christine. Chris and I were instant natural friends, and we quietly just fell in love. I've often wondered if Greg brought me to Michigan to give me to his mom, kind of like a cat gives a mouse to its owner. Anyway, it worked. Christine and I experienced 25 years of ease, of love, and sustained companionship, which I have no parallel for. She was my best friend, my love, and an essential pillar of my day-to-day life. We said I love you to each other multiple times a day, every day, till the last day. She loved to laugh, and I loved to make her laugh. We both had a green thumb, or green thumbs, as the case may be, and spent a lot of time, money, and discussion growing our plants together in the garden. We didn't go out very much, but we loved to go to the Chinese buffet, several pictures of which were on the screen there a minute ago. That's not easy to do, folks. Anyway, we didn't go out very much, but we loved Chinese buffet. But at home, we ate really different diets. We cried together at old songs and some movies. We both painted, but she loved the act of painting more than I did. When Chris and I scratched through this, I'm going to try to read it anyway. When Chris and I were in public, we frequently spoke and joked with strangers with such success that I came to believe that the two of us kind of gave off a field of humor and goodwill that left the strangers we spoke to happier than when we found them. Christine cried easily at small pains, a cut, a bruise. She scarcely cried at all during her final fully bedridden months, though there was a great deal of pain. I had the privilege of, along with Lori and Gary, providing Chris with 24-hour care. It opened something in me, and I found myself a number of times thanking Chris for letting me help her, and help keep her clean. Darndest thing. Huh? Chris didn't want to die. Lori, Gary, and I were bedside in the moments of her passing. Shortly before her last breath, her face twisted a little bit, and I swear she let out a snarl, like a dog or a cat snarl. She was brave to the end. Thank you for Chris. Yeah.
Thank you, Phil. Well, when I was born, there was another guy around, my older brother, and you're now going to hear from the siblings in order of our age. And I'd like to ask Greg to come up and share with you.
Thank you for coming. I had a little nickname for my mom. I used to call her, and I guess my brothers and sisters didn't even know it, but I used to call her Chitter, and then Chit for short. And I used to call her because I was out of state for quite a while. She had lived in Virginia for a little while, and then she came back up, and I didn't see her. So I called her believe it or not, about every day except for Sundays. And if I missed it a day or two, she would call. And I'd say, "Hey, Chit, how's it going?" We talked for about 10 or 15 minutes. And nothing important, just little things. And I kept, and I kept track of that during the week. My mother and I were pretty close. And I probably talked to her more than anybody else other than Phil the last, 20-some years, because I kept calling her, bugging her. And I'm going to miss her. I think I'm going to miss the calls. I think my brother Gary and my sister Lori, for being with my mom when she passed. Me and my brother Matt were there, but at midnight we left. She was still hanging in there, but she didn't talk for the last week about that she was around. And the one thing that I can say that was sort of kind of unusual in a way, I was probably the first person, that she talked to as a kid, and it was the last. Before she got quiet, I had a cold, and I came to see her, and she said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I wanted to see you." She says, "You're sick. You shouldn't be here." I said, "Well, I'm here." And my sister Lori was sort of surprised because all day she had been quiet, and she happened to just come alive for about a half hour, and we talked a little bit. And then after that, she kind of got quiet, and then eventually she passed. So I guess I was the first and the last to talk to my mom. Thank you.
So Mom's history, she had Greg, and then I came along about a year later, a little over a year later, And she went through a season of time where, you know, my dad was pretty ill. And the courage of that woman. My little talk centers around one of her sayings that she would say. Mom was a florist, she was creative, and I don't know where she picked it up, but she used to say that flowers are the stars of the earth. And we've all chatted about putting that on her headstone. I don't know if we will or not. And I got thinking about flowers and stars and what they meant to her and what they mean to us. If I can find my notes. Mom loved flowers. One time, we got this brilliant idea because we ran 2 flower shops, and the kids we didn't like flowers because flowers meant Mom would not be around and we'd all be busy working into the night and oh my gosh, flowers sucked. And so one Mother's Day, and we're all working, and we finally get done, and we get home. Mother's Day's over, and we decided, brilliant idea that we had as kids, is we were going to buy Mom. We bought this giant cage and a cockatiel. And we spent a lot on it, you know. And we gave it to her for Mother's Day. And of course, my mom, everybody in the room knows, she loved everything. She could find beauty in anything. And she thanked us, and she had her bird, and we had all the seed and everything you needed, and there's your Mother's Day. And I went upstairs and I saw Mom around 10 p.m. that night. It was the Sunday of Mother's Day. And she's bawling in her room, heaving sighs. Mom, what's wrong? Well, I know it's silly, but I just thought maybe sometime today somebody would give me just one flower, a daisy. Oh no! And Lori and I went down to the shop and we made this arrangement that was as big as the two of us put together. Matt went to some nursery and got a flowering plant. And yeah, so they were important to her. And I got to thinking about flowers and how they fuel our joy, how they're brilliant. And then when they do fade, you know, they put their energy back into others, right? And that was Mom. And I got to thinking about stars too, and guidance. My mother has provided me with so much guidance. Some of it's almost subconscious. My concept of personal freedom. I don't put a lot of demands on my kids. I'm grateful that I'm rather accepting. And I think it's important to give people the freedom to be themselves. Where did I get that? Oh. When I was a young man, I started going to a church, and I had been burned by some overzealous friends, and I wasn't quite sure about this church thing, so I went to church, and I just sat there. I didn't stand, I didn't sing, I didn't give, I didn't participate at all. And slowly I was kind of changing. I had been kind of a rotten human being for a while there as a young man. And my mom noticed that I was changing, and she asked me what the deal was. And I said, well, I was kind of embarrassed to tell anybody I was going to church because, you know, I was kind of a rot gut human being for a while. And I says, well, why don't you come with me someplace on Thursday night? And I brought her to church with me. And to that point, I'd been attending that church for months. And I had never stood, I never sang, I never participated. I was just basically there kind of soaking up the environment. People were being nice to me, which was cool. And my mom sits down next to me, and the service starts. And everybody's kind of standing up and clapping, you know. And my mom says to me, "Aren't you going to stand up?" I said, "No." She says, "Come on, stand up." So we stood up. And everybody's singing. I had not sung. And my mom said, "Aren't you going to sing?" I said, "No." She says, "Oh, come on, sing." Then they pass the offering. Mom says, "Aren't you going to give something?" I said, "No." She said, here's $10, put it in there. You know, she stayed with me. She prayed to receive Christ. She received the baptism of the Holy Spirit that day, and it was really shocking to me. It was helpful because I had taken French in high school, and I knew what French sounded like. And my mother, who didn't know French, started speaking French, which blew my mind. And we got out to the car after church, and my mother says to me, "Gary, you don't need to be afraid of this. You don't need to be afraid of these people. These are good people." She was my guide in so many ways. I can't even tell you how many. And the last thing about stars is that, you know, they can actually burn out, but we can see them for years because of the distance. Stars don't actually disappear. They kind of become other things. Carl Sagan says we can't take a breath without breathing in star stuff, and we're actually kind of made of star stuff. And in a way, she's still going to shine in my life. She's still going to provide the guidance. I'm going to hear her whisper to me. That beaming smile. You know, I hanging around with Mom toward the end here, just watching her smile, I'm like, you know, I need to smile bigger. I just need to smile bigger. She has made me a better person. She has made me a more joyful person, a more accepting person, a more loving person. And I am so grateful. I'm going to let Lori come up in a second, but I just want to say that, you know, in the Bible where John is writing about Jesus, and he says, you know, if we wrote everything down, there wouldn't be enough room in the world to contain the books. There's no way in a short period of time like this that we could really do Mom justice, but I kind of take comfort in that. As her star has shown, as her flower has contributed to all of you, I think that's really cool that you're all here and you're all going to carry a piece of her with you. And then what you bring from your experiences in life to your kids and your loved ones, it's just an amazing thing to watch. So that's all I have to say. Lori?
I'm going to try to project, but if I start getting too low, Angie, you just wave at me. Okay. Because I have a wee little voice. Mom was big. Even when she arranged, everything was big. She was just bigger than life. Her and I were kind of both a little bit free-spirited. And she was just my companion all over the place. I'd come up with an idea and Mom would be game for it. We went to the Ozarks. They were having flooding like you wouldn't believe, and roads were washed out. In fact, our trail we were supposed to be on was washed out, and if we'd been on the trail a day earlier, we'd have been dead. Because when we finally got on the trail, it was about high as the ceiling. You could see where the water line had been. And we didn't even have a tent. You know, we did everything on a dime. My mom knew how to make do like nobody I knew. And we bought, I'm not sure if it was her idea or my idea, it was probably my idea, this giant bag that you would put in over a mattress, you know, and zip it up. So, you know, the asphyxiation, you know, today on the bags, don't, you know, play with this. Well, we had that as our tent. And so we were on the top of the Ozark Prairie Mountain, and I could see this storm coming. And I said, Mom, we might need to get in the tent, because we just used it as a tarp. And she said, oh, I don't think that's a good idea. And I was like, well, it's either that or get wet. So eventually I said, well, if you feel like getting in it, if it looks like it's coming, let me know. I was tired, so I rolled over, and pretty soon Mom's like, I think we better get in the bag. And so we staked it up, and we, you know, to prevent ourselves from dying. And she stayed up the night, you know, poking the tent and making sure our sticks held it open. And I talked her into so many things. We went winter camping in 8 Below, same thing. We didn't have the gear for it. And we skied all day, and we decided the fire wasn't even keeping us warm, so we went into town. We couldn't even get our propane stove to work because it was so cold. And so we went into town, and we realized we couldn't get warm. And we were hypothermic. I mean, I should know better. I was a nurse at the time. And so I could have a list of stories of craziness that I talked my mom into. And I said to her shortly before she died, because we were reminiscing about a lot of our adventures, and I said, you know, Mom, we were kind of dangerous together. And she said, yeah, we were. And I said, it's a wonder we didn't die. And she said, yeah. I said, we just have some really overactive angels, I guess, protecting us. But we had so much fun. And I'm going to miss that, because even to this day, Annie and I come up at least once a year and do something, you know. So I'm gonna miss the little outdoor adventures with my mom a lot. But what I really want to share quickly is the beauty of her love. My mom showed me unconditional love. She showed me, I think, what Christ wants us to show people. And not everybody has that person in their life that just is going to love them no matter what. No matter how messy life is. You know, she saw beauty in everything, like Gary had mentioned. She saw all the colors. She taught me in art, all these colors. And I'd be like, it's not good enough. And she'd be like, Lori, it's beautiful, it's good enough. And I realized, you know, in our lives we're like that. We're kind of a mess of colors. We're messy. And she could see the beauty in your mess. And not too long ago, there was a person in her life that she had poured a lot of years into that just was not nice to her. I mean, downright, you could list the issues, you know, the things. And she started bawling one day, and I said, what is it? And she said, I miss, and it was that person. And I thought, you know, a lot of us just write people off quickly. But Mom, you could be mean to her 1 minute, and the next minute, you were wonderful. I grew up, you're just wonderful. I had implanted in me that I was loved no matter what. I had that I was just wonderful. And so even people today, you know that I'm trying to show God to, they don't even understand the love of God, and so they don't feel loved. They don't ever feel good enough. And God loves them no matter what. He loves the whole mess. And that's a beautiful thing, to be able to look into somebody through all of their mess and see the beauty. And that was my mom. She could just see, and she just continued to love you no matter what. And so I wanted to mention that because that was important to me, that I hope that I can love well like she loved. She did.
For those that don't know
which one I am.
You're the last one.
I'm the last. You know how you have that last child and your parents go, that's it, we're done. Can't take any more. That's me. So I ruined it for, I don't know, who might have come after. Angie, if you can't hear me, I'll be amazed. My mom called me Matty Joe. There are only a handful of people in this world that calls me Matty Joe. Bill, Lynn, your daughter's one of them. But we'll get back to that in a second. I usually speak. I usually have no problems speaking. The problem is shutting up. So I'm going to try to do it as soon as I can and make it not too long. But I also don't read too well from scripts. But I have a few notes here that I wrote down last night, and it amazed me how it just came. And so the title of this is Ode to Christine. Now, we go to the doctor, and the doctor says, like, are you feeling bad? Are you feeling good? Give me the scale. We've learned that, 1's not good, and 10's awesome. Well, all week, my siblings and I have been, like, sucky, 1s and 2s, right? But as my brother-in-law, Nate, pointed out to me last night, there's blessing in pain. And that's what we have here today, a blessing in pain. But I've got this scale. Now, my brother Gary mentioned, or my sister mentioned, my mom was big. I couldn't get it in 10. So I'm adding a couple digits, okay? We're going to end at 12, okay? Starting with 0. Now, remember, 0 is bad, and on our scale, 12 is going to be elite. So, Chris Stevens, 0. Anything athletic. If you've witnessed it, you know what a tragedy it is. My mother couldn't catch a ball. She would be the one that the bear would eat because we would be ahead of her. Okay? Yeah, it was just, for lack of better terms, gross. Okay? Didn't do that one real well. Moving up the scale, 1. Phil would know this well, and so would all of her children. Cooking. Raise your hand if you're a grandchild and, because my mom cooks so bad, went to McDonald's. Oh, honey, let's go to McDonald's. My mom, I always say, had two seasonings, burnt and bland. Mostly burnt. 3. I know in the Bible somewhere it says, make a joyful noise. My mother's singing was horrendous. I think I get that from her. She used to sing this song, "We are so happy, we are so happy, oh yes we are." Now she would sing this when she was trying to wake us up. Time for school. Oh, we are so happy. We are so happy. Oh yes we are. And you woke up quickly. It was like that alarm clock. You're like, oh please stop.
Or if you were fighting.
But I know my own children have been woken up with that song. My youngest son, who's behind me, is probably just hurting right now thinking about it. Number 3, raise your hand if you knew that Mom had ADHD. Okay, thank you for being honest, right? Okay, phone conversations, I'm surprised Greg got 10 minutes out of this one. Mom couldn't put 4 sentences in the same concept together without switching to the next. You'd be in a deep conversation. You'd be, oh, did you see that plant? Oh, look at, oh, what were you saying? And then when the grandchildren showed up, it was absolutely a mess. It just lost altogether. I call that, my best friend calls that squirrel brain. And he says that I have it. And he's probably right. 4, knowing where your children were. My sister Lori and I went whitewater rafting in Pennsylvania on the Youghiogheny River, class 4s and 5 rapids. And my mother thought we were up north on the Pine River for the weekend. No idea where her children were. 0. And I know there's more than one story like that. And the trust that she used to say, just promise me that you're going to come home. I mean, she got to a point where she didn't know where we're going to, just promise me that you're going to come back. And I'm like, Mom, I'll be back. I hope. Anyways, Aunt Sue Lori was always getting me in trouble. I was a perfect angel. So you two have a lot in common. Okay. Number 5 is babysitting. We're in the middle where it's kind of like, 50-50, right? My mother was the worst babysitter ever. But she was the best babysitter ever. She came up one time and I'm going away for a couple days, getting away, and she goes, sweetheart, you're gonna redo your daughter's room, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm putting drywall. Do you mind if we do like a little drawing on the wall? I'm like, yeah, I don't care, Mom, because I'm gonna drywall. It's new drywall's going up soon. I come home. First of all, I can't walk in the room without stepping on anything. Now, I'm not talking about my daughter's room. I'm talking about the house. I'm stepping over things, okay? Boxes and whatever. They had the best time. And I go to my daughter's room, and my mom had glued paper and forks and macaroni, and it was like a 3D collage on the wall. Paint splattered everywhere, and she was, honey, I really think that Lauren is going to be an artist. I'm sure every grandchild in this room at one point was going to be an artist. It's so beautiful. Oh, they're brilliant. Like I said, I'm not even going to mention the eggs they ate. 17,000 eggs one night with my mother. And she would always fall asleep before they did. That's a true story too. Anyways, I could go on. Number 6, now we're getting in the better, is trips and adventures outdoors. Now, most of the time this went south when Lori was with her because it would rain and they would do this. You mentioned, let's just go freeze in the Arctic. Are you kidding me? My adventures with my mom camping were pretty horrible, but I know she had some good ones. She had some really good ones. 7, playing cards. Now, she was pretty good at it, but she was always rooting for herself to lose. Oh, you got an ace. That's wonderful. And our family played a lot of cards, and so that's 7. Number 8, creating arts and crafts. I think I've already covered that. We can skip over it. Number 8, I'm sorry, that was number 8. We're to 10. 9, painting. Okay, painting. I mean, if you know Mom, you're like, how is that not number 1? Okay, but painting. And just beautiful. Painting and gardening, I got it number 9. Number 10 is flowers. Mom came when I was getting married to my wife. We bought the flowers. I asked Mom about doing these. She goes, oh yeah, just buy these. And then she put our wedding together inside of an hour. She showed up and she put our wedding together inside of an hour. And, driving from Virginia, there we go. And the most beautiful wedding that I've ever been to, And she just did that in seconds. She used so many flowers she didn't have enough for the cake. Oh dear. And so she had to steal and whatever. But okay, now these are the harder ones I'm getting to here. 11, optimistic and positive. a good friend of mine from my childhood, a guy named Mark Piper, you might know who they are. He said to me one time, you know, your mom could have a nice off with anyone and win. We all know that my mom, I know no one who's ever said anything negative about my mother. No one. I know a lot of people that have said negative things about me, and I feel like I'm pretty positive. But I know no one that has ever said a negative thought or word about my mother. And as I mentioned, that's incredible. Our last one, and I'm almost done, I'm sorry, is love. Now, on the topic of love, Mom is rare air. I mentioned she was the horrendous athlete. Again, gross. That was 0, if anybody forgot where I was started at. But I think about, we're almost in the Olympics now, and I think about we're going to see the world's best. The best in the world perform their skill. Mom would be an Olympian of love. She would be in the best in the world. I don't know if I'd put her next to Mother Teresa, but I'd sure suit her up. You know, all these scholars out there write about types of love. C.S. Lewis wrote about 4 types of love. Forgive me if I butcher the pronunciations. Eros love, which is romantic. That's the one I'm always told I'm not so good at. And I don't really know where my mom stands on that one, but, you know, I'm her son, so I'm not going to worry about it. What's that? Yeah, I'm getting to that one last. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. So, filial love, which is deep friendship. That's the kind of friendship you have to, you know, your best friends, you know, and your, you know, the people that you just, you know, they matter so much to you. Storge love, which is affection and kindness. The kind of love that you give to people that you might not know, right? You're just kind, humble and kind. And then agape love, which is selfless and unconditional, which Lori talked about. And I sort of feel like Mom had, like, God gave everybody else what he didn't pour into Mom. Like, here's Christine, and then you, Rab, get the rest of that. But above all those, my mom loved big. My wife's been reading journals. Somewhere's my phone. My phone, right there, Lord. My wife's been reading journals. I had no idea that my mom was journaling for like 7,000 years. And she would write stuff every day in her journal. And my wife has been reading some of them. And she sent some things to my brothers and my sister about an entry she made that I was like, wow, that's something else. And in a second, I'll figure out how to operate my phone. And actually, I took a picture of it. And there's an entry, and Tammy typed a few things. There was like 15 points that my mom wanted to, like, here's my New Year's resolution, my 15 things I'm going to do. And I'm not going to read all 15, but I'm just going to read a couple of them. And these are not my words, these are hers. I exist in a universe of endless possibilities. And actually at the top it was titled Wants, wasn't it? Okay, she didn't send it to you, sorry. I guess I'm special. It was titled Wants, wasn't it?
You asked
Yeah, it's she titled it Wants. All right. I follow my dreams with passion and certainty. I love myself. I am becoming the best version of myself. I create the life I love. I am in charge of my happiness. I will not entertain, this is the one that really kills me. I will not entertain negativity. My mom, to the end, was trying to create herself in a way where she loved not just herself, but people. And before I finish up, and I'm sorry, I'm rambling here a lot, people, but I think it's important. I have an uncle who lives in New York, and he wrote a letter to my mother that she was never able to read because she had passed. And it's a story of him when he was in a dark place, and my mom just in her way said, "I love you." So I've asked my cousin Terry to read it. Are you good? Good to roll? And so she can do this without me sobbing. So I'm going to let her read this letter from my uncle. And thank you for doing that. Okay.
Thank you for asking. So Bob is Matt's youngest brother, and he would love to have been here. He's had some significant health issues in the last couple of years. Dearest Chris, I'm sad and frustrated that my health issues do not allow me to travel far from my apartment these days, or for the last several years. If they did, I would come to be with you in person and hold your hand. And we would just sit, and we wouldn't have to say anything, or we could talk for hours if we felt so inclined, or both. We could laugh and cry and yell and scream and curse, and then sit and wonder and awe at the beauty of it all. So because travel is out of reach for me, I will do my best in this note to share with you some of the things that I have been thinking, feeling, remembering, and hope they do not bore or trouble you. Mostly I've been reflecting on how deeply you have touched my life with your unique love and light. The world I lived in when we met at 12 going on 13 was very dark. My dad's mental health was fast deteriorating. I was starting puberty and realizing that I was different. And most of my family couldn't or didn't really see me, the person I was, my light. Their lives were filled with such fear and pain long before I came along that they were never able to do so. And so, even I couldn't see myself. But Chris, you saw me. And when you did, you would say things like, "Oh, I just love you so much." Nobody had ever said those things like that. And you didn't say them in an obligatory or perfunctory way, like, "Love you." No, you said them with a joyfulness and sincerity that cut through all the layers of confusion and suspicion I had developed to survive that brutal and scary universe. I can still, after all these decades, picture your face and hear the way you said it. The fact that I can recall it so clearly as if it were yesterday says to me that it pierced the armor around my heart and my spirit, and in so doing contributed to my being able to survive, not just then, but for the rest of my life. Anytime a child experiences being truly seen by another, and the person who sees them then reacts with love and joy, it creates a little island of light and hope for that child that can help sustain him or her through a sea of darkness and struggle, not just in the moment, but forever. You are one of those islands of light and hope in my life, and I shall be forever grateful, not just in this lifetime, but also for those to come. Please know that you are always in my heart, and I am looking forward to when we will be together again. With abiding love and gratitude, Bob.
That was very sweet.
there's no way I would have been able to read that, so thank you. At my wedding, well, over the last few days, I've been thinking about how do I honor Mom and what should I say? And I kept thinking about Mom was a testament to love. Like I said, I put that as number 12. I don't think anybody will argue with me, at least not today. At my wedding, there was a song that was played. I always think of my wife, and it's one of our songs, and it's called "Testify to Love," and I'm just going to read a couple of lyrics here. All the colors of the rainbow, all the voices of the wind, every dream that reaches out to find where love begins. Every word of every story, every star in every sky, every corner of creation lives to testify. And this is next part is the one that I think of Mom, because this is what she did. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. Be a witness in the silence where the words are not enough. With every breath I take, I will give God thanks above. For as long as I live, I will testify to love. We're going to call the band up, which is my brother-in-law Nate, Lori's daughter Matea, and my youngest son Valen, and they're going to play the song. You're welcome to sing, but this is where I think all my memories of my mother, of the love she had for all of you, I guess will live in my heart. So thank you for coming. Thanks for bearing with my length of time. But I'm turning it over to you guys now. So
if you know it, sing along with.
All the colors of the rainbow, all the voices on the wind, every dream that reaches out to find where love begins. Every word of every story, every star in every sky, every corner of creation lives to testify. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. I'll be the witness in the silences when words are not enough. With every breath I take, I will give thanks to God above. For as long as I every simple act of humility, every step to kingdom come, all the hope in every heart to speak to what love has done. For as long as I shall live, I will testify the love. I'll be a witness in the silences when words are not enough. With every breath I take, I will give thanks to God above. For as long as I shall live, I will testify the love. Oh, I will testify the love. All the colors of the rainbow, all the voices of the wind, every dream that reaches out, to find where love begins. Every breath I take will give thanks to God above. For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love.
So we have some food. I want to encourage you to continue to testify. We don't really have time, I think, to open it up for sharing as a public thing, but please, if you have a story to tell me about my mother, I'd like to hear it. If you have a word to share with your neighbor about Christine Stevens, it's funny, people live on forever inside of you because you carry them with you. And you get touched with a memory. I mean, it's been on steroids the last few days. I told my family I think I'm high. I'm on a dopamine drip because I'm sad, and then I'm happy, then I'm sad, and then I'm happy. And I just feel so strange right now just because of all those memories. And they're inside of you. So please share them. And if you don't know who to tell them to me. I want to hear them. But we're going to bless this food and ask you to please stay as long as you want and share your heart with others. I love you.
Love you too.
Lord, please bless this food and bless our time together as you have and as you will continue to do so. Amen.
Amen.
I don't know, it's a buffet line, I think.
Hey Gary, where can we put flowers?